Now, for our first topic, we wanted to get into this last week, but it was my fault. We kind of just breezed over it. And this is a topic that I've been wanting to talk about since I first heard the rumors, and now they're really not so much rumors. This has almost all but been confirmed by Sony, and now more recently, Microsoft, even though Microsoft has gone back and forth a little bit on this issue. We have the PlayStation 4 Neo and the whatever they're going to call the next version of the Xbox. I don't know if it's the Xbox 2 TWO, but why not? Xbox naming conventions have never made sense since the 360.
It's a very good point.
so, yeah, since Matt is practically bursting at the seams about this, I'm going to go ahead and let him get us started.
All right, I'm gonna get. I don't want to say angry, but today definitely hasn't helped, and I've had a strong opinion about this. And now hearing about Microsoft's latest creation, it definitely kind of made me a little irritated.
Take a deep
You,
breath.
yeah, you should not release a console and then be like, oh, there's all this new technology that came out like a year after our console came out. Let's do a 2.0 version of our console and then release it instead of, producing or coming up with the new console for like 6 years from now. Or, hey, Microsoft, how about coming out with some cool exclusives? Because Halo 5 is the only one that I can think of, and even that one is kind of just for me. I don't know how well that was received, but honestly, I can't think of anything super great that was exclusive for Microsoft. I love you, love my Xbox One, but come on now. What's the point? It's like I don't know if I told you this, but the way that I see this is like the different just the different forms that the DS has taken over the past 8 years. There has been a new DS or a new version of the DS every 2 years since 2000, I believe 2004 was when the first DS came out. Every 2 years, and sometimes just after a year, a new version has come out with absolutely nothing being different other than having a few apps on there that change nothing about your gaming experience. Or, it's brighter than the last one, which
Which, that was a good improvement.
it is. I mean, like, that's okay and all, but that shouldn't be your main selling point for a new game. And this is what bugs me is when they make after 2 years a game or a new DS, and they make it to where you can only play certain DS games for that DS. As example, the 3DS and the 2DS. 2 years later, the new 3DS. First off, that name in general just needs to. Why? What's the point?
It's not going to be new forever.
No, that's like the whole name is just dumb.
Agreed.
And not to mention that you can play 3DS games on that, and there's also a new 3DS game cartridge that can be only be played in the new 3DS. And some of the games that they've been releasing are only for the new 3DS. I got my 2DS like 8 months before the new 3DS was released. I mean, I was a little late for that, but I didn't want to pay like I don't know, like 100,
160.
yeah, like close to $150 for a new DS every 2 years, because that's like what, 8 times 150. Oh, it's too late for math.
In 6 years, you're going to pay close to $500 for a cheaper handheld system.
Yeah, which is there's no need for it. So I got it, and then it turns out this thing's coming out. So I was like, okay, cool. Some new games will come out for both of the new systems. Yes and no. This is the problem that I see in the future for this, is that for the PS4 Neo, right now they're saying that they'll come out with games that are in 1080p and 4K. Is that what 4K
That's what they
resolution?
say, yeah.
Yeah, 4K resolution. That'll be what the PS4 Neo will be playing on, and PS4 still plays on 1080p. The games they will be able to be played on both consoles, and you can just like flip a switch or hit a button, and it'll change depending on what console you're using. Or if you're using just a normal PS4, you won't even have to do anything. This is the thing that I have a problem with, is when they start selling games that are only compatible with the PS4 Neo. Same thing for Microsoft's. I think Microsoft just saw this and they were like, oh, this could be a great money idea. No, I don't think it is. Steven, would you like to throw your opinion?
Yeah, I'll throw my hat into the ring on this one too. Okay, so I do think that this is a lot like the DS revisions that we've had over the years. The thing with the DS line, the original DS line, until we got to the DSi, you didn't have this. Well, this game is going to run better on the new system or not run at all on the old system until we got to the DSi. I don't even know what games came out on the DSi, and this is my main problem. Historically, looking back on video games, when they do this nonsense, when they do have like, well, this will only run on this 2.0 version of this console over here, it's a forgotten footnote. Nobody cares about it once we move on to the next hardware generation. It doesn't matter anymore as far as anyone's concerned. So it's a giant waste of everyone's time in the gaming community when they decide to do something like this. The problem with the 3DS, the new 3DS, we've brought this up before. Hyrule Warriors Legends, that's supposed to run on both games, yet they made the new 3DS version of that game the target when they were developing that game, and it runs absolutely horrible on the original 3DS and the 2DS. But it runs pretty well on the new 3DS. That's because that was their target. Now, the reason, and people may be out there and being like, well, what's wrong with that? It was a Wii U game being ported to a much less powerful system in the 3DS, even the new 3DS. So that's impressive, right? No, it's not impressive. And the reason why is because Hyrule Warriors is basically the Zelda version of Dynasty Warriors. Dynasty Warriors has been a game that I want to say launched on the original PlayStation, and it really hit its stride in the PlayStation 2 generation. The PlayStation 2 is less powerful than a 3DS. I'm pretty sure about that. Maybe just by a little bit. I mean, all you have to do is you can clearly see that a game like Kingdom Hearts, good-looking game on PlayStation 2, they have a Kingdom Hearts on the 3DS. So they're either equal systems or, and I'm not talking about the new 3DS. I'm talking about the original vanilla XL 2DS versions of that console. But the PS2 is able to run a Dynasty Warriors game just fine because they're working within the limitations of the PlayStation 2 hardware. So there's no reason that a Hyrule Warriors Legends game shouldn't be able to run buttery smooth on a 3DS. There's no reason for that. So what does all that mean for the PS4 Neo and the Xbox 2? That means that, so what they're going to do is they're going to have, basically every game is going to have a base PlayStation 4 mode and a PlayStation 4 Neo mode. At least this is on the PlayStation 4 side. Xbox 2, we've just basically heard that Microsoft is definitely going to go in on this. And it's probably going to be similar to the PlayStation 4 Neo as far as how it handles games. Sony has stated that they are not going to do the, like with Xenoblade Chronicles on the new 3DS, where it simply will not play whatsoever on the 3DS. Um, what we're getting is we're getting games that are going to run in two different states, like you said. Now, I would be okay with this because back in 2013 when this launched, 4K televisions were becoming affordable. And people were kind of, looking at the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One and wondering why these aren't pushing 4K visuals. And by the way, 4K visuals, even for a PC running the latest graphics card, you're not going to get 60 frames per second unless you're running like dual Titan X's or dual 1080s. And even then, you're not going to get ultra high settings and hit that 60 FPS 1080, or I'm sorry, 60 FPS 4K mark that you want to hit. It's just not happening. 4K, think of it this way: 4K is 4 times the resolution of 1080p. It requires quite a bit of horsepower to even produce and record 4K video. So 4K, it's something that is hard to do. Now, I'd be perfectly fine if they were making this PS4 Neo and calling it the PlayStation 4K. I think that'd actually be a pretty catchy title. And the games look exactly the same that they do in 1080p, but they have that buffed up resolution. And they keep the same frame rate, they keep the same visual fidelity. We're just not at a point where I look at Uncharted 4 and I'm like, oh, that game could look so much better. Or I'm looking at Halo 5 and I'm like, why do they have to cut corners here? If only the hardware was more powerful. If you're the type of gamer that does that nitpicks about the different types of graphical levels and things like that, chances are you're a PC gamer and you're dropping, a couple grand on a rig that you're building yourself because you want it to be the best of the best that's going to be outdated in a month. And console gamers aren't like that. We're okay with sacrificing a little bit of visual fidelity for it to be, number one, affordable, and number two, having a system that's going to be supported to be the top tier system. Not the second tier system, but the top tier system that company is offering for the next 5 years minimum. A lot of people are saying that the 7th generation PS3 and 360 era went on too long. I don't feel that way at all. Those games still hold up. I'm still playing through those games when I get a chance. So I don't see a need for this, except for the PS4 and the Xbox One are selling relatively well, and the same thing happened with the 3DS, so they decided, let's release a more powerful system so people who already own the system want to buy it twice. And by the way, we're going to talk about this later, but Nintendo's also coming out with a new handheld. So people who bought the new 3DS, you're only having the best one for what? A couple of years. It's every 2 years you have to buy something. That sounds a lot like PC gaming to me. So here's where we at. Do you have anything else to say, Matt? It almost sounded like you took a break just so that I could get a word in.
No, that was more so me stopping because I felt like I was just gonna get angrier.
Okay.
Well, I
Well,
don't want that.
final word. We think it's a dumb idea. I understand why the companies are getting it. It's just to sell more units. But it's just something that's not necessary.